Hi, everybody. I am super excited today because we are starting a brand new writing unit. This unit is called Realistic Fiction. Now, you might be asking yourself, realistic fiction? I know what fiction is. What does she mean by realistic? Well, it has the word real in it, doesn't it? Realistic fiction is when we write stories about things that could really happen. Really happen. It's very different from opinion writing. We get to use our creativity and our imagination, but not too much because it has to be realistic. So, stories about people. Would we have talking animals in our stories? No, because animals don't really talk. We would have people in our stories. You could still have animals in your stories that you write, but they have to be doing animal things, things that animals really do. So you don't want to limit yourself, but you have to stay realistic. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between reality and fantasy coming up. Serious fiction writers do some serious pretending. Realistic fiction writing. What does realistic fiction mean? Let's watch this video to help you understand what it is.
Realistic Fiction Writing for Kids. Episode 1. What is it? Realistic fiction is a genre or type of writing. Realistic means that something seems real. Fiction means stories that are not real. So realistic fiction is a type of writing that seems like it could be real, but it isn't. The things that happen in the story could really happen though. In realistic fiction stories, the characters seem like they could be real people or animals, but they usually aren't. That means no vampires or superheroes, just regular people. The same is true for the setting. A realistic fiction story wouldn't take place on the moon because that's not realistic. It may take place in a park or at a school. The events that happen in the story are also realistic. The problems that the characters face are real problems that could really happen to real people. So when we write realistic fiction, we use our imagination to create stories that haven't actually happened, but they could. Are you ready to start writing your own realistic fiction story?
Now that you understand what realistic fiction is, can you think of some stories that you've read that are realistic fiction stories? Here are some examples. Today's assignment is to see the difference between realistic fiction versus fantasy. Can you tell the difference? In your packet, find a page that looks like this. It has a spot for realistic fiction and another spot for fantasy. It's divided into 2 columns. And down below, there are 8 different sentences that describe a story. Your job is to read each sentence below. Ask yourself, does this describe realistic fiction or fantasy? Cut each one out and glue it or tape it to the correct column. I hope you did a good job. Just kidding. No talking dogs here. Just me saying, good work, and I'll see you next time for our second lesson on realistic fiction writing. Happy writing, everyone.